So it was a very bold step. Initially, I started with a single group. We were also trying to develop an application called Mask.
After COVID was over and we had a meetup, these girls somehow said that when there was a lockdown, we were sitting at home and watching Netflix. But once we got into this, they said our lives changed.
Somewhere in the middle of the wave, then the plasma treatment became very active. So that was the time we were very active in handling plasma. Similarly, during COVID time, we had saved about 85 families whose kids are in US, NRI families. And they wanted to give a lot of money to me that time, between $100,000 to $500,000. There were times when the ambulance went to the door and they didn't have money to pay. And that is the time, they say, inko bhagwan ki marzi pe chhod. The uniqueness of Kranti is that it is very absolutely apolitical and we don't get our cultural aspects inside here.
Welcome viewers to the first episode of Meet the Mentors of Chakra Dialogues Foundation. I am Shalini Khanna, Head of Outreach and Communications, and I am very happy to introduce to you our founder and director of Chakra Dialogues Foundation, Wing Commander Satyam Kushwaha. Veteran fighter pilot, Indian Air Force, former defense specialist, National Security Council Secretariat, former Chief Geospatial Officer, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, founder director, Indian Space Association, founder and director, Cytil Alpha, founder of KRANTII Groups, and of course, founder and director of Chakra Dialogues Foundation. Sir, we have been associated since many years now. I was a volunteer at one of your KRANTII groups. And by the way, viewers, you would be surprised to know that there are more than 120 KRANTII groups that Sir was taking care of. Sir, how has the journey been for you, being a fighter pilot up there in the sky and then working with so many groups of various sectors on the ground? Would you share with us, with our viewers, about your journey?
The Kranti ecosystem was conceptualized by me when I was in the National Security Council. And that was a time when I was thick into the geospatial reforms that we were trying to steer to improve the geospatial ecosystem in India. And that was a great learning journey for me because we were interacting with various ecosystems, whether it is the academic ecosystem, the students, the industry. And within industry, there were different segments of the industry which were directly impacted by the geospatial domain, as also the armed forces. The three services, they had different and diverse requirements, and it was a huge learning experience for me to interact with different mindsets and still bring some kind of a convergence. And during this journey, I found that there are a lot of pockets of excellence, but they need to be connected. And I found that they were great individual performers, but less teamwork. So that was the root idea behind my mind, that how do I bring all this ecosystem together? So it was a very bold step. Initially, I started with a single group. It was on the 16th of September, say about 3 o'clock in the morning. I just got a brainwave, I got up. And I wrote down do's and don'ts of how, you should work in a group. And I called it KRANTI. And KRANTI stands for Knowledge, Resources, Analytics, Networks, Technology, Innovation, Integration, because I thought about it as a process. And that process was good enough to give me a name.
What was the first group that you created?
So that was there was a group on geospatial AI and big data, because that is how I conceptualized the handling of the geospatial domain at that time. And that was a time when the big names of the geospatial industry were part of it. And so were people from the academia and startups at that time, and people from the government ecosystem. So I used to, in fact, extract the chats from that. And thereafter, I was to identify the pain points and articulate them in a proper paper. And thereafter submit it to the higher ups to bring to them the challenges of the geospatial industry. And that kickstarted that experiment. And because of that, we were able to kickstart the founding bricks of creation of the National Geospatial Policy, which was later on adopted by the cabinet in December 2020. But the work started somewhere around 2015-16 period. Now, seeing the success of it, and because a lot of people from different ecosystems were getting connected, So they wanted other systems and issues also to be taken up. So that is how we started expanding. So today we are having about 65 different verticals and about 124 groups in which all this is handled.
So a total of how many people are there in all your groups? I'm sure there are a lot of overlapping.
There's some overlap, but core strength, if you would talk about it, would be around 1,650 people. The variations are very diverse, from a student of first year right up till serving governors or ministers. And we have government servants who are retired. We have people who have retired from the services, those who are within the industry serving, or veterans from the industry, chancellors, vice chancellors. So it's a full stack uh, component of a society, you may say, where all types of subjects are available. You would say from a person who's even writing poetry, or who's into archaeology or making pottery, right up till the most crack hackers or AI specialists or quantum experts, to people who have led the armed forces with a lot of grace and with a lot of commitment to the nation. And so people from the paramilitary forces, the law enforcement agencies. Uh, so
it's a very vast spectrum of groups and
yes.
people that who are part of Kranti. And I remember I joined you in the middle of COVID, and where we were doing so many operations on saving people. And when I got into one of your groups and I realized, oh my God, the amount of work that was going on was tremendous, and that is why I actually was impressed with the kind of work that everybody was doing. If there was a requirement of blood, I remember people would just rush and help each other, whether it was ambulance or oxygen or plasma or anything. It was really tremendous and amazing. And I remember round the clock, 24 hours, there were so many college groups that had joined us. Would you like to tell our viewers about it, sir?
Yeah, so we were very active during the first wave itself. In fact, during the first wave, things are new for the system. So, me, along with some of our volunteers, I would say it was a team effort, and we created SOPs on how to, analyze a mask for its capability and quality, PPEs, ventilators, because there's a requirement to update the people within the system of what they're trying to deal with, and so the people. So we made a lot of SOPs on that, and we were doing also a lot of strategic monitoring as to what is happening into the geopolitics of COVID, and what were the lessons to be learned from for India at that time. We were also creating a repository of information, where to contact, whom to contact, and for what purpose. So the initial part of the first wave, I'm talking of 2020, went into that. Then we designed a paper on how to fight a pandemic at nation scale, and we submitted to the Apex offices, which I'm glad some aspects were implemented. We were also trying to develop an application called Mask, which was basically to geospatially visualize what is the demand and supply, and how the government, the people from the delivery mechanism, and the users could use it in real time, and with giving a minimum exposure to each other, but still achieve things on ground. So those were the things in the first wave, and then somewhere in the middle of the wave, then when the plasma treatment became very active, so that was the time we were very active in handling plasma. Then in the second wave, which started somewhere around March and April, that was a time there was a sudden rush because of the peculiar nature of the second wave which came. And that was a time then we had a university professor who was, my husband was a late fighter pilot. So I requested Mrs. Shalini call. Yeah. So she volunteered to arrange some students. So we had about 100 students from Kalindi College, 100 from JDMC. We had about quite a few students, about 40, 50 students from RRU, Rashtriya Raksha University, and about 20, 30 girls from LSR, Delhi. So that was the core student group. And you'll be very happy to know that, ma'am, it was completely student-led roster system.
I remember, sir, when we met them after COVID was over and we had a meetup. These girls somehow said that when there was a lockdown, we were sitting at home and watching Netflix. But once we got into this, they said our lives changed. Their attitude towards people, towards helping everybody changed. So that was one major achievement I felt that Kranti contributed to the lives of these youngsters.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, I must tell you that we made a very fantastic combination of students and people, veterans, So students used to do the bulk of the groundwork under supervision of the veterans.
Right.
So from the Kranti community itself, which was originally the Kranti groups, we had about 700 volunteers there. So total about, we can say about 1100 people were directly involved in this. And we had round the clock operations covering 40 groups because, we had made a hierarchical system where there were some core groups which were focusing only, say, when a case comes, like what you have a hospital, where a patient comes as an OPD and then you give him a kind of a number and thereafter you analyze what's the problem. And then depending on the kind of priority that is required to be given, then you are put into that slot. And because, there was a deep psychological impact also taking place because of COVID. And the families were very disturbed. So, I mean, besides the patient, of course. So there was a set of girls who were only managing their mental health in real time. There were times when the entire family was washed off and just a young kid remaining.
I also remember, sir, an instance where a girl, one of our volunteers, lost her own parent, and yet she continued to volunteer for us because she was the point of contact for another family. So I was kind of surprised when I spoke to her, and she said, "Ma'am, I am at the hospital. I lost my father." But she continued to carry on with the good work. So it actually used to give me goosebumps.
So, ma'am, I think what Kranti was able to do, in my understanding, was that, deep inside, all of us are doers. And all of us have a sense of humanity inside us.
Right.
What we were able to do is we were able to give a sense of purpose to them. And we were able to align them as part of an ecosystem so that the best in them came out. You'll be surprised, man. We broke drug cartels, hospital drugs. So there were medicines like tocilizumab, which was selling its outside in open market for 15 lakh rupees per vial. We got them free for people or below MRP. Similarly, remdesivir in Delhi, I heard it was black for about 7 lakhs. We again got it free for people. There were times when the ambulance went to the door and they didn't have money to pay. And that is the time, they say, inko bhagwan ki marzi pe chhod dijiye. Now your conscience didn't allow because it took 3 days to manage an ambulance. It took 2 days to manage a bed. Right. And after that kind of an effort, it doesn't feel like, so you then just pay it from your own side. So those were also a very deep impacting moments, I would say. Similarly, there was a very interesting case where we moved a pregnant lady who was SpO2 about 45-50 from Haridwar. AIMS Rishikesh was not responding, and we brought her right up till Delhi in the middle of the night. And at that time, there was one person who was monitoring the SpO2 of the lady, one was monitoring the driver, and there's a full team which was activating all the hospitals on the way, so that should some emergency happen,
yes,
they could take care of the mother, or if something was to happen,
the oxygen level was low and the cylinder was running out.
Yes. So it was a very, very complicated situation. And then we brought her to, I think, Madhukar Rainbow. They were not very satisfied there. Then we went to Fortis, and I myself went there, and there he didn't get a bed. And the situation was 19 minutes of oxygen and 31 minutes of driving time to where we manage a bed in emergency at Metro Hospital in Palam. And it was a drive of a lifetime, but we were able to save the baby and the mother that night.
I remember that. And that gentleman sends a photograph at her birthday every year, which is quite a... So, sir, tell me about the transition from KRANTII to Chakra Dialogues Foundation.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, like we've had a huge, I would say, new army or a huge package of experts from varied fields. And the best thing is that they have bonded over a period of time. The uniqueness of KRANTII is that it is very absolutely apolitical. and we don't get our cultural aspects inside here. So it is pure nation building and it is pure work oriented. So this model has worked, and we have people from all types of political or ideological backgrounds, but here they focus on nation. So there are no conflicts here. So a lot of people had been after me that, Satyam, why don't we create a formal ecosystem where we could actually do more effective work as a group. Similarly, during COVID time, like we had saved about 85 families from whose kids are in US and NRI families, and they wanted to give a lot of money to me that time, between $100,000 to $500,000. So, and I did not accept anything because neither did I had a framework to take it, and I didn't want to mix seva and with money at that time. But that definitely triggered in my mind that if we were able to do something as a voluntary, loose voluntary ecosystem, then if we were a formal body, we could have been much more effective.
Yes, and utilize the funds for better work.
Yes, so like we save about 3,500 core cases of SpO2 between 40 and up to 25 was the least one case I handled, but between 15 25 that was a range we handled, which I'm listing in the 3,500. Otherwise, there may be in hundreds of thousands. So, and this was all over India. I mean, other than I think Lakshadweep Islands and Andamans, there's no state, no territory which was left untouched. So, given that reach, and it continues to happen even today. So that was the time then we decided, then let's do something. And plus, there's a lot of cerebral sense or capability inside Chakra, and there are a lot of issues of nation building which are required. And nation building is a wide subject, and it is multi-sectoral. And what's important is that how individual sectors which are doing well, how do you bring them into a convergence? Like you see our Chakra. I mean, that is how it motivates.
I was going to ask you that. What is the significance of the chakra, and what does it actually?
So, very good question, ma'am. So, we are focusing on nation building and strengthening India's comprehensive national park. So, imagine that these different spokes which are coming from here they are different elements of national park. So, it's only that when each of these spokes are rightly handled and they're contributing in harmony with others, and that there's a synergy and coordination, only then the center part will get activated, which is the center of your, it's like a hub and spoke model.
Right.
So that was a sense that we had in our mind. And to power this, what you need is the human resources. I think human beings are the most important thing. And the Prime Minister also has laid down a vision for all of us. And I feel, and this is something which was also very deep to me, because when I was in the National Security Council, I had undertaken a study on enhancing the youth employability by applied skilling of NCC youth. That was a program I wanted to do at that time. And we had support of almost 28 agencies unanimous that time. But sadly, I was leaving that time at the end of when the whole thing was getting activated. So I couldn't process it that time, but that thing remained in me. So I then brought that idea into this, that we need to focus on our youth, build our entrepreneurial capability, own IPRs, create industrial wealth, which allows us to generate jobs, create a thought leadership which will propel us into the next 25 years to meet Vision 2047 and maybe Vision 2100 thereafter. And for that, also generate the right amount of resources that are required to power it. And finally, train this youth which are going to be part of that transition of say a $4 trillion economy to a 5 to a 10 to a $20 trillion economy. That will happen over a period of time. So that is a larger vision where I'm trying to work on. And it's good that the right people are now connecting with us. So brick by brick, we are moving towards that vision. Let's hope that more people join us. And this is a place which is meant for India, designed for India, to take India to the next level. And I'm happy to work with you and serve you in the best of my ability so that we achieve our desired shared objectives of making India a secure, self-reliant, developed, and influential nation, which I think our time has come and we should do it.
Thank you so much, sir. With the kind of selfless work that you have been doing in the past, and we all are a witness to it, I am sure Chakra Dialogues Foundation is going to do amazing work. Tremendous amount of effort has gone into it. We have such a wonderful lineup of mentors that we have who are so highly accomplished. And I'm very sure that under their guidance, Chakra Dialogues Foundation is going to do great work. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.